This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by Stirling Soap Company. How often do you think about your soap? Well, if you answered, not much, maybe you should. You see, a lot of what passes for soap in stores is technically not soap, according to the FDA's definition. It's full of lab-created chemicals and detergents because, well, it's cheaper to make. Now, what if you could buy natural soap made from natural ingredients like tallow, palm oil, coconut oil, and scented with essential oils, and for just a little more than you'd pay for grocery store soap? Stirling Soap is 100% natural, and with a wide variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, and cologne, there's a product and a scent for just about everybody. Check them out for yourself at stirlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. Another day on the calendar means another This Day in Sports History. And today, my friends, we've got intrigue and controversy. It's November 13th, and let's start off with what happened on this day in 1994 when Michael Schumacher won the first of his 7 Formula One titles. The 1994 Formula One season was filled with tragedy and controversy. This was the season that Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna both died in on-track crashes just days apart at Imola. Controversy seemed to follow Schumacher around all season. His second-place finish at the British Grand Prix was erased after his refusal to serve a penalty, leading to him being black flagged. He was suspended for 2 races after that. And it actually brings what happened today into focus. Schumacher had a substantial 27-point lead in the driver's standings at the midway point, but after his DQ at Silverstone, a DNF at Hockenheim, another disqualification in Belgium, and a 2-race suspension, his lead was down to just 1 point over Damon Hill coming into the final race of the season in Australia on this day. Schumacher and Hill had finished 1-2 at the previous 2 races, with the German winning in Spain and the Brit winning in Japan. A 1-2 finish by these guys in the Aussie race will give the winner the points championship. Nigel Mansell was the pole sitter, Schumacher was outside on row 1, and Damon Hill was on row 2 behind Mansell. Mansell's excessive wheel spin at the drop of the green flag allowed Hill to go past and right up on the wing of Schumacher. The drivers would ride around track 1-2 until lap 36. Now, whether it was the pressure of a championship that got to Michael or the car simply lost grip for a millisecond, his Benetton Ford went off the track and rubbed the wall with the right wheel. He steered back onto the track, but he lost momentum, speed, and time. When Hill rounded the corner that Schumacher had slid out in, he saw Michael getting back on the track. Well, Hill saw his opportunity to take the race lead. He came up on the inside of Schumacher, and he had the pace to get around him cleanly. But the two made contact, with the wheels of Schumacher's car hitting Hill's, causing the Benetton Ford to go up on 2 wheels, and it nearly flipped his car. It hit the barrier, and Schumacher was done for the day. For the briefest of moments as he drove away from the accident, Hill thought he'd just won the title, but he soon realized he had a problem with his left front suspension, caused by the collision a few moments before. When Hill came back to the pits, his mechanic attempted to bend the suspension with his bare hands, but he just couldn't fix it. Hill also had to retire from the race, giving the Formula One championship to Schumacher. Here's Hill and Schumacher in post-accident interviews from that day.
It's over now, and it's a bit of an empty feeling, but I think I gave him a good run for his money.
It was a very great battle between me and Damon, but nevertheless, the feeling about the championship, winning the championship, it's a dream.
Now, here's the thing. On first look, this appeared to be an unfortunate but unavoidable on-track collision. But subsequent looks from Hill's crew chief and others showed what they believed to be Schumacher's intentional turning into Hill in an effort to damage his car. Now, nothing came of it. Hill accepted the result and the ruling, and he moved on. Schumacher won the '94 Formula One championship by 1 point. It was the first of what would become 7 F1 championships for Schumacher. But there are some, including Schumacher's friend Roger Benoit, that believes Schumacher's '94 F1 championship should be revoked. believing what happened on lap 36 to be an intentional maneuver to damage Hill's car. Let's keep the controversy rolling with what happened on this day in 1977 when Houston Oilers head coach Bum Phillips accused punter Ray Guy of cheating. So, you've heard of Tom Brady and Deflategate, right? Well, this was Inflategate. Bum Phillips was a character ripped straight out of central casting for a Texas football coach. He was almost never without his trademark cowboy hat and dark-lensed sunglasses, and he was quick with one-liners that flowed from him with a deep Texas drawl. Ray Guy was also a Southern boy, born in Georgia. He went to college at Southern Miss, was the first and still only punter to be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft by the then Oakland Raiders in 1973. Guy could kick it as high as he could far, and for a guy who had a career-long 74-yarder and another one for 71 yards, that's saying something. He was famous for hitting the gondola in the ceiling at the New Orleans Superdome. Well, on this day, the Oilers were on the road in Oakland. Guy punted the ball just 3 times during the game, and he also handled kickoffs. He averaged just 36 yards a kick on this day, but it wasn't the length of Guy's kicks. Instead, it was the hang time that caught Bum's eye. It just seemed to the old football coach that there was something janky about how that ball just floated in the air, defying gravity. And why was it? When one of those kick balls found its way to the Houston sideline, did somebody from the Raiders come rushing over to demand the ball back? Billy White Shoes Johnson, who played receiver and returned kicks for Atlanta, said after one frustrating day of not returning any of Guy's kicks, "I have never seen anybody hang kickoffs like Guy did." One of the Oilers' equipment guys was able to confiscate one of the balls that Guy kicked on this day, and he stored it away for later analysis. They actually sent the ball to a lab at Rice University to see if the ball contained helium. When Raiders head coach John Madden heard of Bum's supposition of helium-filled footballs, he called the accusation ridiculous, adding, "The officials control the balls. They have 24 of them in their locker room before the game, and they inflate them to the prescribed pressure." When the test results came back from the Rice lab, the football was negative for any foreign, lighter-than-air gas. Even if the football had tested positive for helium, it wouldn't have helped. A 2009 Mythbusters segment put the idea to the test and found that a helium-filled ball did not fly any farther, higher, or hang any longer in the air than a regularly filled one. And really, Bum was probably just upset that his team was 4-5 after losing to the Raiders 34-28 on this day. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. And speaking of a ball that hangs in the air a long time, let's go back to this day in 1967 when ABA basketball player Jerry Harkness hit the longest shot in professional basketball history. This is the first season of the Renegade American Basketball Association with its red, white, and blue ball and the still unfamiliar three-point shot. The Indiana Pacers were on the road playing the Dallas Chaparrals. With under 10 seconds to play, the score was tied, and Dallas had the ball. I'll let Harkness himself describe what happened next.
A guy by the name of Charles Beasley, it was deep in the corner, took a jump shot, and it went through, nothing but net. The place went crazy, and Oliver Darden took the ball out and gave it to me right under the basket there. And I had nothing else to do. I knew we were out of town, so I pulled it back as far as I could go, and I let it go. And it was going towards the basket. I just said, well, maybe it'll hit the backboard. I don't look stupid. And the ball hit the backboard and went in.
Now, here's the thing. The players were still unfamiliar with the three-point shot, even though it's like the 15th or 16th game they've played. Harkness initially thought his 92-foot shot merely tied the game, and it was headed to overtime. Here's Harkness again.
The three-point shot had just started, and all my life I've been playing 2-point. So a lot of us was shocked because it was the first year of the ABA, and we thought that it put us in overtime. And then the referee, Joe Belmont, I think, said, "Hey, it's over."
At 92 feet, Harkness's shot is the longest in basketball history. Now, here's another thing. The Chaparrals painted a blue spot on the floor to commemorate the shot, but when Harkness and the Pacers came back through Dallas the next time, well, Jerry noticed the spot was not in the right spot. It had been moved forward and measured to 88 feet, but he remembers being right underneath the basket when he launched it. Others who witnessed it that night, such as Dallas's radio man Terry Stembridge, agreed that it was a longer shot than the spot on the floor gave him credit for. And I found 3 different sources for this story, and they all listed it as a 92-footer. So I'm going with that, and it happened on this day in 1967. And on this day in 1979, Chocolate Thunder boomed for the first time. The Philadelphia 76ers were on the road at the Kansas City Kings. Daryl Dawkins was a 4-year vet for the Sixers, and he'd talked about breaking a backboard during a game a little earlier in the year. He remembers his teammates looking at him like he was a little bit crazy. Dawkins was definitely a power dunker, and these are the days when the rims were not breakaway rims that flexed when you grabbed on. Those were a few years away. Here's Double D talking about his philosophy of dunking.
I want to put the ball in the goal as hard as I can put it in there. My main thing was power. If you want to get in front of me, I'm going to make you know you're messing with the real dunker. I thought Dr. J had the most creative dunks. I mean, he could glide from the top of the key and all that. Me, I couldn't glide from the top of the key. But if I caught you up under the goal and I was at the dotted line, you was mine, buddy.
On this night, Dawkins got the ball to the right of the lane, rose up between 2 Kings defenders, cocked the ball with 2 hands behind his head, and then unleashed a dunk with such ferocity that the backboard did not bend to his will. It shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces, raining down on KC's Dave Robenzine. It took a little more than an hour to repair the goal, which gave Dawkins plenty of time to write a rhyme about the plundering he did with his thundering. This dunk became the chocolate thunder flying, Robenzine crying, teeth shaking, glass breaking, rump roasting, bun toasting, wham bam, glass breaker I am jam. This was also not a one and done, son. He broke another backboard 23 days later at the Philly Spectrum in a game against San Antonio. Now, whether Dawkins was the catalyst for the evolution of rim technology or just merely the poster guy for what can happen if things do not evolve, a man by the name of Arthur Arrett developed what he called the rebounder rim that received a patent in 1982. The NBA adopted the rim before the patent even went into effect, beginning with the 1981 season. And time now for today's Got Nothing to Do with Sports Fun Fact. In 1967, Canadian Club, the whiskey brand, launched a hide-a-case marketing campaign. There were 25 cases hidden around the world. At this point, there are still 8 cases to be found. There are cases suspected of being buried in the Yukon Territory, Loch Ness, Tanzania, Robinson Crusoe Island, the North Pole, and Lake Placid, New York. So go find some buried booze, and then invite me to the after party. That's going to wrap up this edition, but of course there's more on the way tomorrow on This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.